We all want to feel peace in our lives. Peace in our choices, our beliefs, our relationships, and our environment. I've learned that this desired contentment is often found through holding on to less. When we pare down what we own, what we consume, and what we value, we're left with what's intentional, a personalized curation of what is important and true and useful to us. I'm Shannon Leyko, and you're listening to Paring Down, a podcast aimed at helping you declutter not only your home, but any area of your life that's overwhelming. Here, we're having interesting and honest conversations about the physical and mental clutter that drowns out what truly matters to each of us. And together, we'll learn how to pare it all down, not for the sake of perfection or becoming rigid, rather so we can move through life with less overwhelm and more joy, wisdom, and peace. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Paring Down. I feel really passionately about today's subject just because it's something that is very important in my life. And I actually have been asked about this a few times. And then my girlfriend Kitty texted me a couple weeks ago and she was like, you need to do a podcast episode about this. And it's how building friendships is so interconnected with clutter and our willingness to declutter and our relationship with consumption. And as a military wife, I have to basically build community and friendships from the ground up every 3 years. Not that I don't keep in touch, of course, with my friends from wherever I moved away from, but it's really important that I build a new community wherever I go, just for my own social and personal health, for the well-being of my family and my children. It's really important. And it also makes decluttering easier, which we'll get into. But first, I just want to remind you guys that I have a new free offering to give you. And I know that I don't talk about these enough. And so someone recently was like, you need to just do more reminders. And I always get really awkward about it because you guys know that I hate feeling like I'm salesy. And I'm like, okay, the podcast already has advertisements. I don't want to push my own stuff. But at the same time, I actually know that they're really helpful, or I feel that they're very helpful. And what I'm going to tell you about today is free. So as you know, not a Christian podcast in the sense that it's not like you have to be a Christian to listen to this, nor do I want anyone to feel excluded ever. I will say that every single time. And I have a new Bible study that I created if you are a Christian or if you're interested just in different religious perspectives. It's called Treasures of the Heart, a 7-day Bible study on breaking free from material attachments. So this helps give a biblical foundation for why decluttering and realistic minimalism is a faithful thing to do. And I hope it just adds a layer of motivation for all of you. So you can get that in the show notes. It's called Treasures of the Heart. And just an FYI, I also have a baby essentials list. So if you're pregnant or know someone who's expecting, it can help them from going haywire with all the things people tell them they need to have. It's just a baby essentials list. I have a free Know Your Why worksheet if you want to get to the root of why you want to declutter, why you want to live with less, identify your core values. That's free. I have 15 clutter-free gift ideas is one of the guides. I have a gift request template if you want to send it off to family members before birthdays or holidays in a gracious way, being able to express your desire for certain things and maybe not for certain things. And my complete guide to decluttering kid stuff. So all of that is in the show notes. I just want to make sure you are aware that besides this podcast, I do offer additional resources. Okay, but today's topic, friendship. I want to share some kind of practical ways that I make friends wherever I go, because we know that making friends in adulthood isn't always super easy. There are a lot of reasons for this. We oftentimes think we're too busy for new friends, or we don't know how to develop commonality with people once we're outside of school and college, right? Those natural things that bring us together. I think we get more overwhelmed with the world the older we get. And so it's like our capacity for relationships is lower. There's just a lot of reasons why making friends in adulthood is harder. So since I've been asked pretty regularly how I create community with each move, I'm going to share with you 10 ways that I make friends. And then I also, of course, want to talk about how these friendships are intertwined with living a more minimal life. I touched on this a bit with my guest Brittany Myers back on episode 6 of this podcast. Woo, it was a while ago now. Creating community in small spaces is what that episode is called. But I want to do a deeper dive into this community building aspect that makes it easier for us to own less. And what it really boils down to is social capital. If you're not familiar with the phrase social capital, basically all it is, it's a sociological term. And also, I think from behavioral economics, kind of both of those worlds, that defines the networks of relationships which are productive toward advancing the goals of both individuals and groups. So we're looking at how people function personally, but also how a society functions because of interpersonal relationships, a shared sense of identity, a shared understanding, shared norms, shared values and trust, cooperation, reciprocity, all of these different things that come together to create a society that works together in order to be productive and healthy, as well as better the lives of individuals, right? Like when a society is healthy, the individuals are usually healthy. It goes hand in hand. And social capital has been used to kind of explain why when there's a diverse group of people, there's often improved performance. It's been used to explain why when you have a good manager at work, that can improve the performance as a whole. It explains a lot of reasons why we have success or lack of success in any given group, society, industry, whatever it is. These networks of relationships are the foundation for so much of what is productive in our world. I mean, we all know that. Like, if you have a boss that you really respect, who treats you with mutual respect, who comments when you do something well to give you that boost of confidence, and who isn't looking over your shoulder because there's a trust there. And so then therefore you want to lean into that trust. You don't want to disappoint them. You just like them. They make you laugh. You have inside jokes. It makes the work environment more fun. So you're less likely to try and get out of there by 4:59 p.m. It all feeds into each other. These relationships are everything. I mean, companies know this. I'm not saying that it has been entirely successful, but like this is why you have these big tech companies that have like ping pong and volleyball and sleeping pods all on their industry campuses. They know the research, and it's like, hey, people need to like each other. People need to have a shared sense of community for this to be productive. Social capital is super important when it comes to a well-functioning society. And then, of course, it is super important to our personal well-being. And we, as we know, are facing a loneliness epidemic in Western countries, specifically in the United States. According to a 2018 survey by Cigna, 48% of Generation Z identifies as lonely. That's nearly half of our young people. An even bigger stat, 69%, almost 70%, felt as though people around them are not actually, quote, with them. And 68% feel like nobody truly knows them. No one knows the true you, the true me. And for that to be the common experience amongst our young people, 70%, if you have 10 teenagers and young 20-somethings lined up next to each other, only 3 of those people will feel like they have someone who actually knows them. Wow. And of course, other generations are identifying as being lonely overall as well. Millennials came in at 45%. So still almost 50% of us. I'm a millennial myself. Gen X as well came in at 45%. Boomers came in at 42%. So they're slightly better, but honestly, not much. Neil Ho is a historian and economist, and he wrote in Forbes that loneliness can lead to psychiatric disorders as well as cellular changes that have been linked to heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, and others. Okay, so this is pretty alarming. And then in 2020, there was more research from Harvard that found that 36% of all Americans, but 61% of young adults, which we just touched on, and 51% of mothers with young children feel, quote, serious loneliness. This is based on a survey of nearly 1,000 people. The loneliness is primarily affecting our young people, our young adults, and mothers with young children. I mean, I think that's obvious, right? We feel like we're trapped inside with our kids, that suddenly we might not be able to relate to friends who we had before, that maybe they don't have kids. It's just hard to get out of the house with children, to have a conversation when you have young kids around, right? Like, it's a very practical thing. And so we feel very, very alone. We also feel like we're failing all the time. We're failing in our discipline. We're failing in the nutrition we're giving our kids. We're failing in their education, we're failing in their general safety, we're failing in helping them have good relationships. It's just, there's so much you can go online and be like, well, I'm failing, right? There's so much pressure, and that leads to loneliness. Plus, we just don't have that intergenerational living anymore. So many of us live far away from family, or because our generation does things differently than the previous generation, it creates this divide where we don't feel understood. It's tough. It's tough out there for anybody and everybody. And we have to take this really seriously because it's affecting our well-being and it's affecting the future generations of people. And it's just no way to live. But then we think, well, what do we do? It's not my fault. Well, there's always something we can do. There's always a way to take personal agency to better our lives. You may have heard of Dr. Laurie Santos. She's a Yale University professor who's known for her work on the science of happiness and human cognition. And her research supports that the sheer amount of time we spend around other people actually predicts how happy we are. Now, introverts are like, that's not always true. I'm an extroverted introvert. So everyone has like their different versions of what, introvert versus extrovert means. For me, it's, do you gain energy being around people? Or do you lose energy? So like my dad and my husband, they are strong extroverts. They love being around people and they gain energy when they are. I am the opposite. I lose energy when I'm around people, specifically large groups of people. If I'm one-on-one or even just like in a very small group, I'm pretty good. But even then I need, breaks pretty often. But if I go into a group that's larger than 3, I'm exhausted pretty quickly. I mean, it drains my energy. So I say I'm an extroverted introvert in that I present as an extrovert. I'm talkative. I am comfortable talking to other people. I even sometimes process out loud, not always. And so I think people think, oh, you're an extrovert. But I'm like, no, my friend. I need so much alone time. That's why vacations are hard for me. When we went to Disney World, it's just a struggle. Like even for my own family, I need so much quiet and alone time. And you don't really get that on vacations, and that's hard. In fact, that has really influenced how we're going to approach our 3-week road trip to Alaska, because the hardest part about when we did the 3 weeks from Alaska to Florida was really that I didn't have any silence or alone time to myself, because time in the car with the kids is not alone time or silence, and their energy affects me. I'm a strong empath. My husband laughs when I say that. He's like, that's so woo-woo. But I can't help it. I take on the emotions of people around me. It's my responsibility to manage that, and not like if someone's in a bad mood, that doesn't mean I get to be in a bad mood. I'm not saying that, but I feel what people put off extremely strongly. And so if I am around other people, it just drains me. And I remember one time we were probably 2 weeks into the road trip, and I was like, you have to pull over. Yeah, I have to go on a walk right now, or else I am going to scream at our children. And I don't want to do that. Like that's not their fault. And there was nowhere good to pull over. We pulled over into this random gas station on the side of a mountain in somewhere, I don't know, Arizona. And I got my fanny pack and I put that on and I said, I'll be back in 15 minutes. And I walked down a random mountain. I was like, I have to be alone right now. And it really helped. It really did. Okay. So what I'm saying is that this still applies even if you're an introvert. The research showing that being around other people predicts how happy we are. She has shared about this before. It is not dependent on how much of an introvert or an extrovert you are. Maybe as introverts, we need to be around people in smaller doses or like a fewer amount of people. But generally speaking, we all need interpersonal connection, and that is directly correlated with happiness. We just have to find the kind of interaction that works for us. Now, recently, scholars have started labeling 2 forms of this social capital. So there's bridging, which is external connections between 2 groups. And bonding is that internal connection between people within the same group. So bridging is really learning from people who are different from us. And that allows for an exchange of new ideas and perspectives and resources. And that promotes collaboration. So think about how much more connected to the world you feel when, let's say, your group, I don't know, I'm gonna make it less formal here. Let's say you have a group of friends that likes to go to trivia. And then one of you is like, oh, I know this dude from work. He has a group of people he does trivia with too. I'm going to tell them to meet up. so we can all like do a trivia situation or whatever. And so you guys all meet at the bar on a Thursday to do trivia, and they have their group and you have yours. And you are obviously on your team or whatever, but it's like nice to see another group of people and maybe they do things a little differently, or you get good ideas from how their team works. Maybe you talk to someone on their team and they tell you something funny that happened or give you a different perspective on whatever you guys are experiencing. Maybe they even say to you, hey, oh, you guys don't use this app? You should totally use this or whatever, right? They have different resources. Like, this is why I'm not going to make this like a rant by any means, but this is why it is so important to have diversity in every group if you want to see success, because that's bridging. That's bridging two different communities. Maybe it's a socioeconomic diversity, maybe it's a racial diversity, maybe it's a gender diversity. But in bridging those communities, we're exchanging a different viewpoint, different perspectives. A great example of this is that there were no women on the team that designed public bathrooms. So why is there always a line, like at Harry Potter World, a huge line coming out of the bathroom for the women's side, and there's never a line for the guys? Well, because men, they can just like walk up, use a urinal. So no one's really waiting for a private stall. They have double the space. They have all the stalls, but then they have all the urinals on the wall. So you have double the opportunity, and it's a lot faster. They're not taking their pants. I mean, I'm not going to get into it. Okay, we know how everyone uses the bathroom. I was like, wait, let me stop there. And it's faster. Okay. Now, if we had had a woman involved with designing that, I think there would have been a better chance that it would have been like, don't you think it would make more sense to allocate more space to the women's bathroom since it takes them longer to do something? Like, I just think that there's a different perspective that could have happened that would make our society function more smoothly. Because the guys, it's not like this doesn't affect you. You still got to wait for your woman to go to the bathroom. Okay, so this does affect everybody. It would be a lot smoother if our bathrooms were designed differently, if the resources were allocated differently. And those kinds of ideas come on board when we have a diversity of thought. So bridging is a really, really important part of social capital because it helps all of us as a whole, and it helps us individually. We learn about new things, new ways to approach life. We learn about new resources. It's great. It's great for everybody. Okay, and then there's bonding. So that's strengthening the sense of belonging within your specific group. This offers you the chance to feel really comfortable. You just feel like yourself. And when you're feeling most like yourself, that's when you're most creative. That's when your ideas flow. That's when you guys are working well as a team. That's when you don't feel lonely. So this more internal group, it's important to bond with, whether it's the people who live in your neighborhood, the people who go to your church, the people who are in the Coast Guard. There's more of an internal group that you want to bond with because there's a shared experience there. And in bonding in that shared experience, you can live into your best self. And of course, that's a great sense of community as well. So bridging and bonding. Now, why is bridging important for decluttering? Well, through bridging, through meeting people who are different from us, it gives us a new perspective on maybe what's essential. I live in an upper middle class, primarily white neighborhood. It is very easy, if I'm not bridging across different sects of people, to begin to think that this is the only way to live. This is normalized in the sense that, oh, well, everybody else is wearing Lululemon. Everybody else buys this. Everybody else has this. We think that based on our very limited circle of awareness, we think certain things are important. And then when we open that circle of awareness and interact maybe with somebody who has less than us or has more than us or whatever, it gives new perspective on our habits, on what we think is important to own, on what is necessary and what is a want. It increases our empathy and generosity, maybe more willing to declutter, more willing to give because we see that there is a greater need out there than the back of our closet. For me, this bridging really helps more. I mean, it helps with the decluttering, like I said, generosity, but it helps more with the overconsumption because I'm exposed to the fact that overconsumption isn't normal. I've bridged a lot of friendships, maybe with people overseas, with like Europeans. I've bridged a lot of friendships with people who are heavily into sustainability. Those are not worlds I come from. But in building those friendships and experiencing that bridge, I'm realizing that, the way that I'm operating on autopilot as like a normal upper middle class white person in America is not the only way, and it's hurting other people, right? So that bridging really helps. Now, why is bonding important for decluttering? Well, when we feel really bonded with our group of people, or a group of people. We're not looking to be accepted based on what we're wearing or what we own. Like all those things we're doing to become accepted that involve consumerism no longer apply. When I go over to my friend's house, I am wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt and I don't care. I'm not trying to impress anyone, right? Like we are bonded, we know each other, and that really affects everything. We're also more willing to lend and borrow. There's a shared trust. And when we really trust the people around us because we've bonded with them, then we might say, okay, I want to lend this out to them, or we will ask them for help, or can I borrow this? And this is a huge piece of living with less. Okay, huge. My friend Kitty, who had texted me and kind of inspired this episode, made the point that like it's been easier for her to let go of baby gear because she really can trust that she can get it back. She can acquire it, whether it's her exact bouncer or not, because she has a community of people that she is bonded with that she knows will step up for her and offer her maybe their baby stuff. Or I know somebody who's getting rid of this, right? And they come together for you to support you. So you don't feel this sense of scarcity, this fear that you can't reacquire something you're going to need. I think we feel that way less when we have a support system, when we know that we have bonded with people in our lives and they will take care of us just like we'll take care of them. It's such a privilege for me to know that, for instance, even just within my family, I know I'll always be taken care of. This isn't just a financial privilege, although I do have that level of experience. Like I know that my parents could help me out should I need it, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about if for whatever reason I couldn't support my family or I wasn't here anymore, I know they would take care of my kids. I know that my kids would have everything they need, not only from my family, but from my friends. They would show up for me. They would show up for my kids. They would show up in my life. And that's from strong bonds. Our friends and our family cannot fix everything, but they make things so much better. I think about a friend of mine who was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. And we have a group of us from college, and we were there for her the best way we could be. We all went in and got her a Kindle so that she loves to read. So she would have that to read when she was in the hospital. And the friends that could from our group flew out to be there with her for her like pre-surgery party. And in doing that for her, I know that that same group of friends would do the same thing for me if ever I was in need. In fact, they did, honestly, when my mom died. I mean, a different group of friends, actually. All my friends, they're wonderful, but different group of friends. When my mom died, I didn't have to go through her closet by myself. I had two friends that took off work. They lived 4 hours away. They, without asking me if I wanted them to or not, they said, we took off work this Friday and we're going to come down and we're going to help you go through your mom's stuff. I have a picture of one of them in the car. I'll never forget it. And I actually just found it on my phone recently, but she's like surrounded. It's a funny picture of like my old stuffed animals and just bags of stuff. And it's just her head. And we just thought it was so funny at the time. So we like took a picture, and it is very funny because all you can see is her head in the back of the car on the way to Goodwill to donate a bunch of stuff from my mom's closet. But like, what a display of friendship. I know my friends will be there for me. And so because I don't feel a sense of insecurity in my life that I won't be taken care of, I can let things go. I can trust that I can get things from my community. We have someone across the street that has like a special palm tree clipper thing. We don't need a palm tree clipper. We're only in Florida for 3 years. So you know what we do? We go knock on the door and say, hey, Brad, can we use your palm tree clipper? Our palm tree has whatever on it, these berry situations. And, there's just a sense of community when we can depend on people. I'm going out of town. Hey, would you mind bringing in the trash can, or would you check our porch? And we do that for them and they do it for us. I mean, there's so many examples of this, but I just want to kind of hammer home how this can relate back to decluttering. Building strong friendships through bridging and bonding is a huge piece of whether or not you can more easily be successful in decluttering. I don't want to say it's the only way to be successful, but gosh, it sure makes it easier to have that safety net and that perspective and that awareness. And it, of course, just helps you know what matters. So let's talk about how to make friends, because that's a huge piece of the puzzle. Hey guys, it's time for your ad break. Each week I like to say a huge thank you for your graciousness that these are part of the podcast. Here we go. I just sat this morning and I decided to write down 10 things that I've done that I think have helped me make friends. And I hope that you find them helpful. Number 1, be weirdly generous. I mean, weird. So I go back to when we moved to Alaska, and I met this mom at the grocery store. She came up to me And it was a teeny tiny town. So everyone kind of knew everyone. And so she saw me with kids at the grocery store, said, "Hey, I have young kids. You must be new here because I don't know you." Because everyone on the island with young kids knows each other. And she was like, "I have like moms and kids Bible study on Wednesdays. If you would like to come, I would love to have you." And so I said yes, which is actually my second point, is accepting generosity and like saying yes as well as being committed. But we're going to get to that. But that's not the point right now. The point is I went to this Bible study group situation and there was a mom there and she had 3 kids at the time, pregnant with her 4th, I want to say. And her husband was on a ship, which means that he left for 2 to 3 weeks at a time before coming back. And so he was getting ready to leave for about 3 weeks. And she was just kind of telling the group, how stressed she was or whatever. I was brand new. I had been on the island for maybe a week. And so I creepily asked the host of the group, "Hey, can I get her address? Because I want to bring her a meal." And so you know what I did? I made a chicken Alfredo casserole. It's like so Midwest. I don't know if chicken Alfredo is, but the casserole vibe. But I did. I put together this like easy Alfredo bake and I took it over to her doorstep. And I had the baking instructions on one Post-it note and the other one was my phone number and said, "Hey, this is Shannon. We met on Wednesday at group. So-and-so gave me your address. Sorry if that's creepy, but I wanted to make you this meal because I know how hard it is to feed kids when you're solo parenting." And she knew who I was enough because, of course, we had talked on Wednesday. We're both coastie wives. We had bonded enough that she wasn't like, "Who's the stranger poisoning my food?" Right? But I left it on her doorstep. And that was it. And she, of course, texted me and was like, "Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah." Right. And that opened the friendship up. And so then it was like, "Hey, are you going to be there again on Wednesday?" Ba-da-da-da-da, like slowly building until the point where 4 months later, she threw me a baby sprinkle because I was pregnant too, by the way, at the time. And so she threw me a baby sprinkle. And that all started with a casserole. It all started with a chicken Alfredo, right? I don't take full responsibility. She's an amazing human and she responded back. But when we are weirdly generous, it opens the door for friendships. My husband, as you guys know, loves to bake stuff. So what do we do when he bakes too much and I don't want to eat it all? We give it away. We give away sourdough. When we lived in Alaska, we baked even more and we would have homemade whoopie pies and we would have, I don't even know, they being my husband and at the time our 3-year-old made ridiculous things. And so we would just like put them together and tie them up in cellophane and we would put them on our neighbors' porches or we would bring them to soccer practice or wherever we were going. It creates a sense of community. Even here recently, my husband has created a sense of community at my child's swim class because he was chit-chatting with another mom. They talked week after week. And then she asked for my phone number, which is just like, super respectful. She didn't want to text my husband and I had never met her. But she had texted me and said, "Hey, I'm so-and-so's mom. Any chance that Aaron could give them a ride this week? We can't." And, so he had developed enough of a trust with her that she was like, "Okay, I'll let this man give my kid a ride," And so now we take her son to swim 2 nights a week. And there's just a sense of generosity here. And she's a vet. And she's like, "Hey, what can I do to help you with your dog for the move?" Right? Like when we are weirdly generous, when we're offering rides and giving meals and showing up for people, they also will show up for you. It is good for everybody involved. Okay. That's number 1, be weirdly generous. Number 2, accept generosity yourself. Okay. So when people offer to do something for you, it's very easy to be like, "Oh, I don't want to be a burden." No. Doesn't it feel good for you when you offer people something? Like I love the fact that Aaron gives this child a ride, or like it made me feel like I was part of a community to bring someone a casserole, that I knew enough about someone that her husband was going to be gone and I could show up with a meal for her. Like it feels really good for the giver. I mean, that's research supported. It feels good for us to be generous. So let other people be generous for you because that creates a stronger connection as well. When my friend in Alaska said, "Can I throw you a baby sprinkle?" It was easy for me to be like, "No, don't do that." But I was like, "Are you sure? I mean, like, I don't want you to take this on." So I wasn't just, presumptuous. It was just, she was like, "No, I want to do this for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, gosh, that would be great. Thank you." Right? Like that sounds really fun. Let's just, make it small and easy. Tell people they don't have to bring anything, but man, that would be really fun. Our church out there that we barely knew anyone, they did a meal train. And I'll never forget that the way that Ketchikan, Alaska is, the island that it's set up, there was this other island across the channel that didn't have like electrical power. Like you're off grid, you know what I mean? And so those people would take their boats over to Ketchikan just to go to the grocery store or whatever they needed to do that was like in society. And there was a woman in her 60s that lived over there with her husband, and she got on her boat in a rainstorm with some homemade soup. And she came all the way over on her boat, got in her car that she leaves on the island, and drove to our house and dropped it off for me, who she had never met, so that she could be part of that meal train. Like, what? Talk about like feeling like I'm part of something. That made me feel so much more connected to our church. During the pandemic, we had no flour like the rest of the world, but especially in Ketchikan when the barges like just didn't have anything on them, I feel like half the time. And so we had a friend be like, oh, we have extra flour and, you know, no one can contact with each other. And so she just like dropped flour on the doorstep and took a picture, texted it to me and said, hey, you have flour now, because she had seen, I think I'd group texted or maybe I put it on Facebook about how we were out of flour. You know, let other people be generous to you. That's a huge way to strengthen friendships. Okay, number 3, choose 1 or 2 groups or people and just commit and say yes. We have to stop expecting like sparks to fly, soulmate connections wherever we go. Sometimes those happen, but oftentimes those build up. So both times since I've moved, like to Alaska and then here to Florida, like the 2 big moves, it took me almost 2 years to feel like I have that soulmate-y friendship connection with someone. But you know how it got there? Consistently showing up. So I'll take the example here in Florida. We didn't find a perfect church, which I don't think that really exists, but we finally found one that we felt good enough about. And we said, we're going to go every Sunday and every Wednesday. Well, we started with just Sundays. And we're going to go to this small group. And we're just going to commit. We're just going to be there on Sundays. And we're going to be in this small group. In the first year, I don't think I felt particularly attached to anyone. But then slowly I started building a friendship with 2 of the other wives in this small group. And now they are my girls. I'm like, you're my best friends forever. Like, I love you. And we're so ourselves. We can be weird. We should go to lunch together. We talk about really inappropriate things. Like, it is a true friendship, right? And that just came from committing and saying, I'm going to go even when I don't feel like it. I'm going to go when they have a Super Bowl party for our small group, even though it might feel really awkward because I'm not really that attached to these people. I'm going to show up. I'm going to let my kids play with their kids and be in their home. And we opened up our home for a Friendsgiving. And that is actually what really kind of bonded a lot of people in that small group, like getting into each other's homes. So whether it's a group like that or you meet a parent, right? Like I met another friend of mine here is the parent of my son's bestie from preschool. He is now in 1st grade, but that first year we moved here, our sons connected. So we got in touch with each other. And I was like, I'm committing to this friendship. I'm not just going to let this be my son's friend's mom. Like, I'm going to have conversations with her. I'm going to make sure that when we are together, it feels like there's something between the 2 of us. And that has helped so much. Now we are 3 years into our relationship and like she's someone I feel like I can count on. So you have to commit, even when you feel like you don't have that much in common. Right? At first, honestly, with her, I don't think we had that much in common. Her other 2 kids are teenagers. She's 10 years older than me. She's definitely not as like animated and crazy as I am. But I was like, I'm committing here. And you know what? You can find common ground with anyone if you are authentic and willing to just show up and spend time with them and have conversations with them. Not anyone. Like if I don't want to be around negative people or I don't want to be around people who are snarky or gossipy or have no emotional intelligence, right? Like I'm not telling you to be friends with those people. But if you find someone that's like relatively normal, you can become good friends with them. So don't expect perfection and just commit and show up and say yes, even if you're like me and you're like, I don't want to. That reminds me of my neighbor, Holly. She moved last year, but we were so tight. Totally like that soulmate-y kind of a friendship thing. It was so bizarre. We're in Florida, but we found out we went to high school right down the street from each other in Virginia. But it was so funny because she was so similar to me in that neither of us wanted to meet each other. Like our husbands were outgoing. And so they had met each other when we moved here and they like chatting and they're like, oh, you need to meet Shannon or need to meet Holly. And apparently both Holly and me were like, no, I don't want to meet someone right now. Like, leave me alone. I want to go inside. But one day Aaron and Eric both were like, hey guys, you're both here in the car. And later Holly and I had this conversation with each other. We were both like, no, but then we like are polite and we came out and we met each other and then we hit it off. Right. And before we know it, our kids just kind of mutually live in each other's houses. They're running across the street to each other. Holly and I are just like, oh my gosh, can you come over and have a glass of wine right now? Like, I just need to chill. Like she was such a soulmate that I cried when they ended up moving 2 years after we got here because that friendship meant everything to me. And you just have to commit. You have to say yes when you don't want to. Say yes to meeting that person. Say yes to the second conversation in the driveway because every time you interact with them, the closer you're going to feel. Number 4 is frequent the same places. This isn't necessarily about building like deep friendships, but it's about creating that sense of community. So I go to the same coffee shop every morning. I go to the same Publix really often. We used to go to a trampoline park near here all the time. By frequenting the same places, you build a sense of community because my baristas, they know me. They ask about the kids. Where are they? Oh, I'm so sad they're not in the car with you today. Are you going on spring break? Are you going to church this morning? You look really nice. It makes me feel like I'm part of something, right? Even at Publix, we know the guy that stocks the fruit now, and he's always interacting with the kids, and like we like to go there. We actually had a babysitter that came out of going to the trampoline park all the time because we were there so often that I got to know the employees. And one of the employees, she and I just like started to bond and chat about life. And she was entirely different from me. So we're bridging and bonding. She's from Jamaica and was sharing with me about her kids and blah, blah, blah. And she would just take such good care of my kids at the jump park that sometimes I could go watch one in one area of the jump park. And she's like, I've got JoJo or I've got Warren, don't worry about it. And like, I really trusted her to the point where then we invited her to come over and babysit for the kids because the kids loved her so much. And that expanded my children's worldview. They're not just around white people all the time or people that don't have an accent and, you know, don't develop that exclusivity or racism or whatever it might be. Like that bridging is really, really important. Gosh, I'll never forget. She showed up to their birthday party and she had a $50 gift card for both of them. And like, she did not have a lot of money and she was a single mom of her own kids. And like she worked at the trampoline park and she was there for my kids in an incredibly generous way. And it just strengthened the sense of community that we felt here. And of course, actually that did create a friendship. Okay. So frequent the same places. That's like a very good idea. Okay. Number 5 is ask people's names. This goes with frequenting places, but like the reason we know the grocery store guy is because we asked, hey, what's your name? Because we saw him all the time. And we would chat about something dumb. I'd be like, I'm so sorry. What's your name? Because I'm going to see you all the time. I feel like I should know your name. And he's like, oh, my name's Warren. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's my son's name. That's Warren. And so now my Warren is, when he sees that Warren, he's like, Warren. And then Warren, the grocer, is like, Warren. And it's so cute. And it's like a part of a thing, right? Or I asked my barista, what's your name? She's Emmy. And it's like, I forgot it. And so I had to ask her another time, hey, I'm so sorry. I forgot your name. Can you tell me your name? Emmy. And now I remember it. And I'm always like, hey, Emmy. And she's like, hey, Shannon. And like, it makes you feel like you're friends. And it's not just like people who work near you. It's like you are all living and existing in this community. Number 6, give people a chance. There's so much fear and that's fine. Like I want to protect your kids. I want to protect you. Like, yes, don't let strangers into your house, but give people a chance. You know how we found our babysitter who I ended up leaving my children with for 3 nights overnight. And I'm like safety crazy. I don't just let anyone watch my children, but our babysitter who's become like our regular that I left all 3 of my children with overnight, I met her because she put a flyer on the Facebook group, which is so crazy to me because I feel like usually I'd be like, I can't just trust a random flyer, but there was good reviews and I was like, fine, I need someone. And so I'll have her come over and just meet her. I met her and I trust my gut, which you guys know from past episodes. And I was like, she's amazing, and let her watch the kids for a couple hours. And then we just invited her over more and more and more. And it led to the point where now, like, I'm going out of town and my daughter's getting this big award at school. I'm so proud of her. She's just being awarded for being cooperative. That's the word of the month. And so in front of the whole school, there's a pep rally and she's getting this award. And of course, it's the one Friday of the entire school year that I'm out of town. Classic. So you know who's going and who texted me and said, I'm going to bring her flowers. So don't tell her. It's a surprise. Grace, our babysitter. She's 19 years old and she is waking up at 7 a.m. on a Friday to go drive to an elementary school and be there for our children. Could you cry? She's amazing because I gave her a chance. Give people a chance. Okay, number 7, don't personalize being left out. I will never be as close to my friends here as they are with each other because they've been here together for years before me and they will be here years after. I don't take it personally when they travel. So my 2 close friends that I said are like soulmate-y friends now, and we go to lunch and we are super comfortable. Their families travel together. They take vacations together and they live in the same neighborhood. I don't live in their neighborhood. They do things together without me all the time. But I don't take it personally. I know they love me. I know if I lived here for a long time, we would be great friends. It's just not the way it's set up. But we're great friends right now, and that is great for me. And so I don't take it personally. So don't personalize being, quote, left out if you are relatively new to a group, or even if you're not and you have other friends that hang out without each other. Just let it go. It's fine. Like, be confident in the fact that they love you. That's what true friendship is like a confidence in one another. And if you don't have that confidence, you probably need to do more bonding. Okay, number 8 is be okay with being the initiator. This is similar to like the left out thing, or they all go hand in hand. But I'm really cool being the one to initiate. So I tend to initiate a lot of my friendships, but I don't feel like the friendships are less valid. I don't feel like people don't want to hang out with me. And then people do initiate with me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like that creepy person that's always like, please hang out with me. But like, I'm okay with being the initiator because I know I only have a short window of time to make friends. I will initiate making sure that we at least stay in contact, which is number 9. Keep communication open with kind texts, even if it's been a while. So like, if I haven't seen my son's friend's mom in a while, I'll at least send her a text and be like, oh my gosh, look at this dress that Jojo got. It reminds me of X, Y, or Z. Just send a text that's like, I'm still alive, you're still alive, we're still friends, even if we haven't seen each other. That's okay. I mean, you don't say that in the text, but a random text gives that vibe off. And so you haven't forgotten about each other, or they don't feel bad they haven't reached out to you. It's just like you're keeping that line of communication open. I think that's really important. Okay. So number 8, be okay with being the initiator. Number 9, keep communication open. And number 10, my favorite, be weird. I've talked about this already in some of these other points, but just be weird, be authentic, be you. And I swear you can be friends with anyone if you're you, because all of us have the common denominator of just being weird. And the more that you are vulnerable with other people, the more they are vulnerable with you. If you talk about genuine parenting struggles with them, they're going to talk about it with you. Voila, you have something in common. If you share with them something you're struggling with currently, then they will feel like they can. This is not about oversharing. Again, emotional intelligence, it's really important, people. But at the same time, authenticity goes a super long way when it comes to making friends. So stop trying to put on a front. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to wear all the cutest clothes. Stop trying to be cool. You will not find your people that way. You got to be weird in your brand of weird, not my brand of weird, right? I have plenty of friends that are not nearly as weird as I am. Like they're not as, openly, like animatedly weird. I feel like I'm very much that way. But you get to know them, and they have their own brand of weird. That's the point, is not to try and be anyone except for yourself, because then it makes other people more willing to be themselves, and they like to be around you because it makes them feel like they can be themselves. All of this is pieced together with being loving and not gossiping and being kind. So of course, like, think through what kind of friends you would want to be friends with and be that kind of a person. But I hope that these give you some ideas or inspire you to deepen those friendships, because not only is it good for you as a human being, but it is really good when it comes to your ability to declutter and create a community that makes you feel safe, so you're not relying on belongings to do that. All right, thanks so much for being here. I will see you next week. Bye. You just listened to an episode of Paring Down with me, Shannon Leyko. If you enjoyed the show, it would mean the world if you can leave a review wherever you listen and share this episode with a friend. Those reviews really are what keeps a podcast on its feet for the long haul, and I will read every single one with a huge smile on my face. So thank you ahead of time. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe. Also, be sure to follow along on Instagram at paring_down, where I offer lots of tips and inspiration for paring down, along with what's new here on the podcast. Till next time.